All right, and we're live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. We are officially back in business. I'm no longer in Italy. I'm back in the States. Tuesday at 12 p.m. We're gonna stick back to it. Obviously, the official start time is 12:30, but we are here early, ready to roll. And today we're gonna talk about Journey together, ladies and gentlemen, because oh my goodness gracious, if you haven't been watching it right now, booster boxes are pushing 280. I mean, I don't know how long we are from 300 a box, but before we jump into that, as always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the YouTube channel out. Check out Alex's channel, links down in the description below for that. You can obviously partake in his breaks and or see his content. And then lastly, to be a part of the community and stay up to date on all things going on with Pokémon USA. And if spots ever open up for the wholesale program, join the Discord. But Alex, let's where do we start? Where do we start, sir?
Oh, Journey together to $300 a box by win.
Yeah, by win. I mean,
I'm gonna say, let's see, I'm gonna say, I don't know, April 15th.
I think it really comes down to how is Journey going to play out? Is it going to play out more as like a surging or a prismatic? Because prismatic at pre-sale on the lead up to it was selling for like 150, 160, and then corrected down to 120, and it's now at 140, right? Whereas with surging like on the lead up to the set was selling for 200, and then like within a month later went up to 250. So it is honestly a toss up. You have to assume, since it is a booster box set, that the assumption is, and also the market is way worse, that it just makes more sense that it's going to be 300 a box by mid-April.
By way
for
worse,
sure.
You mean way better?
Yeah, I guess. So I think it's definitely in the cards to be there at some point in April.
Well, one thing I will say is Pokemon's already used up all their bullets. Like at this point, they've threatened. They put out these press releases saying they're going to print it into the ground. They've came out with these reprints where every store got a few boxes or a few cases. Like they've already tried their little warning shots. It is nothing is going to work at this point. I don't care if they come out and say we're going to reprint Journey together, heavily. Dude, it's not going to matter until we actually get the product. Everyone is kind of calling their bluff at this point. Pokemon has to, at this point, release a huge actual reprint to do any damage to this market, because everyone's just like unfazed. It's like, oh, they're going to reprint in the ground. Don't care. Oh, we got reprints of sets. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. It's just like we're at the point now where the confidence level is so high, and nothing short of a massive reprint is going to stop it at this point.
I think it just is euphoric. I think that's honestly it. I think you're in a market right now where you've got a lot of individuals. I mean, I think the Pokemon Center drop is very much indicative of this, where you had it's funny because we had someone in our program scrape the site, and it was over 1 million people in a queue.
I heard over 2 at one point.
Yeah. I mean, I believe it, dude. And so it's like, it was insane, like, to hear that there was that many people trying to limit 1 per person. And as we're aware, like, a large portion of individuals in this market, currently speaking, are here because there is so much money to be made in the market. And a large portion of individuals too share the sentiment that you obviously just mentioned, where they're like, hey, I do not care what price I have to buy it at because it's just going to keep going up. What's the point? And I think that, like you were just saying, the only way you're going to be able to counteract this is if Pokemon comes out with a massive, massive correction. And honestly, if they do come out with a massive, massive like second wave of Journey, which is, they've, flat out said on their, on their X page, it will cause a catalyst type event in my mind, because you have individuals that are buying near the top. You have individuals that are in the hobby for the wrong reasons, and you're going to have weak hands really quickly, causing a domino effect that will cause prices to have a ton of downward pressure. That's just my thoughts on it. But in the meantime, it's everyone's guess is as good as everyone else's guess. And so it's like, we can't make these predictions. And so you've got individuals that are very uninformed, and just don't know what they're doing, that are over leveraging themselves. And then you've got other individuals that are in the position where they're cautious, but also not squandering what's going on in the current market state. I don't know what your thoughts are.
How much are you selling it for in store?
I'm selling boosters for 240.
Okay.
So, and they're selling
So
for 275 right now on TCG Player.
our store, our local store, is selling for 250, and they had to limit them to 6 booster boxes. And I asked why their limit, and it's because they're still selling at such an alarming rate at 250, which is incredible to see that kind of strength. They had booster bundles over $10 a pack. ETBs were like $120, and they had those limited to 2 units because they're selling at those prices. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know any rip and shippers or investors that are buying booster bundles or ETBs at $65 or $120, especially in units of 2. That tells me the market is still extremely strong. There are legitimately regular customers that walk into card shops willing to pay these prices, willing to open packs at these prices. And so, yeah, I just think we're far out because, yeah, they can reprint and it can go cheaper and people will still buy it. But the fact that the sales volume isn't going down still, I find it hard to see any bearish indicator on it.
Shout out to Zuko. That's a good name. Congratulations. What was I gonna say? Alex, some people were saying that your mic is a little quiet in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Which I had to turn up my audio as well. So
is that better?
Oh yeah, that's much better. Now I'm gonna turn you down.
But yeah, so that's kind of how I see things. I'm looking, I'm trying to find bearish indicators. I can't. I mean, I listed 2 cases of Journey Together last night for my breaks. They were sold out within 10 minutes of the break.
Well,
two cases, like, I mean, 400 packs like water. If I would have listed probably 10 cases, we probably would have went through like every single one of them. It's crazy the volume that is being ripped. And again, I still think to this day, even though we talk about it all the time, I think people are grossly underestimating the burn rate of this hobby.
I think the problem is, though, Alex, is you're not going to find bearish indicators because this market, unlike, let's say, traditional markets, doesn't operate in the same way where you start to see a lack of confidence in the market based off of general demand. It's more a matter of just general supply that affects things, because Pokemon in and of itself is going to control what prices are based off of what they're able to put out proportionally. And then from there is where you'll start to see any sort of, correction. Because like you're saying, like your local store selling it for 250, this product itself, as we just discussed, is probably going to go up to $300 a box by April. Like there's just no doubt in my mind that that is on the table. So the only way you will see a correction that will happen with a ton of downward pressure is if Pokemon comes out with a very large print wave that basically gets a lot of individuals that are in this market for the wrong reasons out of this market, because that's just kind of it, right? And that's what you see with anything.
Hold on though. How many people, right, are not just on the sidelines, but also like, all the people in the chat, they're on my chat, they're in your chat. Everyone is all like, worried right now because people are, when they start making money, when things actually come to fruition, it freaks people out. When things are like not coming to fruition, not going up, it almost like doesn't. It's like, oh yeah, it's, it goes up slow. And so everyone's freaking out right now. All the like longer term investors are starting to sell or starting to get weary. Here's the thing. How many people are willing to buy if this stuff drops 30%?
I mean, I guess my thing is I heard this exact same argument with crypto back in 2017 when crypto was at 20. This argument was made when it dropped to 15,000, then 10,000.
Let me cut you off real quick though, and then you keep going. Crypto would be like if a certain amount of coins were constantly deleted from the market every single day, the way that boxes and packs are. So it's a little different. That's all I'm saying.
Well, crypto though adds more supply into the market.
That's what I'm saying. So if crypto were actually going the opposite way and deleting supply the way sealed product is deleted every day,
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying because you're saying Pokemon is more so deflationary because Pokemon product is opened. But I guess the point that I'm trying to illustrate here is the two comparable differences. Pokemon unlike crypto, doesn't have a set reserve amount in total circulating existence, so that it's inflationary until the point in which the halving stops. And obviously, all of the supply that's set off to the side comes in circulation. Whereas with Pokemon, they can just keep printing. And obviously, as we've seen with Evolving Skies and other sets, there's definitely many instances in which that doesn't occur. But when Pokemon has come out and addressed certain items, they've done it in a way where they made sure that they could correct the price. And
But
you
time, I
know,
mean, especially for the older sets, time is on our side at this point because we are getting inching closer and closer to a lot of those sets reaching their 2-year-old marks. And with all of the need on the newer sets, it's likely, some people are saying they're not going to get there till, August or October, November, whatever. It's just like, well, by that time, a lot of these other sets are going to have aged more. It's just, I just think, yeah, we're going to get reprints on some sets. I just think a lot of these are just going to keep marching forward and people are going to get left behind, like, standing their ground and saying, it's all going to get printed into the ground. I'm going to pick it all up for cheap. You guys are all idiots. It's like, honestly, I said it before. I think if you bought every single Scarlet Violet era box right now and then waited a year, I think you'll actually be up money overall than waiting on everything.
well, I mean, that happened in the Sword and Shield era, though. Obviously, you had base set, and you also had how am I forgetting the name of it? Rebel Clash, where they obviously didn't get printed, and those prices skyrocketed like crazy. So it's very possible where you could see some sets, obviously within the Scarlet and Violet era, not get their print. I think this is just me personally. I think what the most likely probability is, especially knowing that the Pokemon Company has made the announcement they have, and just the information that I've been provided from some of my sources, is Pokemon is going to address everything from Prismatic forward. And then from there, what's more than likely going to happen is you will see some form of a correction that occurs from that will start to kind of add a lot of downward pressure in the market. And then from there, it'll put Pokemon in position where they don't have to print nearly as much for some of these older Scarlet and Violet sets, whether that be like Twilight, whether that be like, I don't know how far back they'll go, right? But you saw something like this happen with the Sword and Shield era, where they put heavy pressure on Evolving, they had put heavy pressure on Fusion and Chilling, because those are the three most recent sets. And then they printed barely any Vivid and Darkness comparably, but the prices themselves were held up so high because of general scarcity that it became something that caused an insanely quick, like 50% drop on these booster box prices, just based on the fact that the market itself now had to kind of pick and choose what they were going to pick up. Because, from what I would tend to see the most is there's a lot of people that are on the sideline, like you said, but also at the same exact time, the minute those individuals have to pick and choose is when you start to see certain sets make their large corrections. Because that's kind of what we saw with Chilling Reign and Fusion Strike.
Yeah, but you
Everyone,
see it again. It's a terrible example that you can't use that
how can you not use that?
because that was coming down off the pandemic high. Like that's completely different than just throwing reprints on a fire hot market. Like all the demand for everything, vintage, everything crashed, and then they threw huge amounts of supply into the crash. Like throwing huge amounts of supply into a booming market is not the same as throwing it at the end of a run. It's different.
Pokemon was still at its high at the end of when the print started happening.
No,
Pokemon
dude,
didn't.
like end of 21 is when it started to like it was over that hill already.
Well, the print started happening, they began happening in September. So, and the actual charting where you see a huge drop off, you could see it in the Google Trends chart. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but it was right around November, December is when it fell off.
Well,
And
dude, I
so
mean, Chilling Reign, I'm looking right now. The release date for Chilling wasn't even till June 18th of 21. So it's like the reprint
correct.
couldn't have been till late 21 or 22. So it's like those were after the boom was over, I'm telling you.
No, the reprint for Chilling occurred in October.
Okay, so that was like literally the everything
Yeah, but the
had done.
the reprint started in September.
And then,
Because
Fusion Strike, same way.
it was in the lead up to Fusion, because Fusion, their release date was the second week of November.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, it was November 11th.
Yeah. Or 12. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to articulate here is I think that we know what Pokemon has done historically in the past, and I just don't see why that would change. That's all I'm saying. You can obviously agree or disagree on how you think it's going to play out. I just think that Pokemon, like everyone always wants to say Pokemon's doing this right, this wrong, whatever. They're the largest IP in the world. They're the largest IP in the world for a reason. Obviously, it's not just solely on the backs of Pokemon, the trading card game, and all their other IPs are obviously to be included in this. But with all this being said, they are the largest IP for a reason. They're the largest, if not one of the largest, trading card games in the entire world. And so for me, I think that they fundamentally have an understanding of how markets react specifically within their space. And so I just have a firm belief that if we can just go back and look and see how they address things historically speaking, it's obviously going to be a good indicator for how they're probably going to look at it going forward. Could be wrong. Obviously, times change, things change. I know obviously you share a different sentiment in regards to looking at it from two different market cycles and how it's completely different. I guess, regardless of whether you look at it as two different market cycles, I think it doesn't really change the way in which Pokemon historically has still addressed things. I don't know how they wouldn't, because it's just bad for the hobby as a whole. Like it's just bad for the hobby as a whole having $300 plus booster boxes. And also no product available at distribution. Because if you have no product available at distribution, then there's no opportunity for new stores, which is horrible for the hobby, right? Because if you're saying to yourself, I want to have an opportunity for a market economy to thrive where you can open new storefronts, and these new storefronts can, come fill in place of other storefronts that shouldn't be surviving but are because they have zero competition. That's not going to happen if these newer storefronts don't have an opportunity to develop, because there's literally zero product available at distribution for them to build allocations on.
I mean, I think that's actually almost a good thing, as sad as that sounds.
You think what's a good thing?
Well, undercapitalized small stores, newer business owners who can't, withstand the ups and downs, they're usually the most emotional, and they're usually ones that like actually affect the market the worst way. They're the ones that will dump, product immediately because they need capital. They're the ones that'll dump into a downturn and actually make price falls worse. Like people who have large inventories, large capital, large business, they're the ones that make less emotional decisions. And that's what I've said in the past is like larger investors, people with like deeper pockets making their way into this hobby. It's actually better than having a bunch of small people who, just like are super emotional, darn well capitalized, might need the money for like everyday life here or there and need to sell instead of want to sell. And I think, the majority of the product being in the hands of people like that actually keeps the market more stable.
I feel like that's so anecdotal though, because I can give you multiple different examples that say the opposite, right? I mean, literally, a perfect example is literally in my hometown. There was one game store that sold Pokemon and Magic. They were the only game store. And because of that, they were kept afloat. And then the minute another store came in, they went out of business because they were such a horrible shop that people had no choice but to now stick with them. And the minute people were able to leave, they just left in droves. And then that shop went out of business. And hell, I know of a shop here locally. I'm not going to obviously call them out, but I know of a shop here locally that literally has been around since right before COVID happened. And they were able to survive because of what happened with COVID, regardless of how horrible their business practices were. And they made an extreme amount of emotional decisions that didn't have any repercussions, because it didn't matter, because as long as they got access to any product, they were going to make an absolute crap ton of money because of the margins. And they're still around in business because of that. And obviously there's a lot of individuals that are not a fan of them as a
Yeah,
business, but they're still sticking around because their margins are so fat, you know, like
I mean, this is obviously, there's multiple reasons, but like, one of the reasons blue chip stocks are blue chip stocks is because they've, developed a successful, business where they get a certain amount of, sales and growth every year. Another reason those stocks stay so stable though is because they're in every single pension fund, 401k, every, index fund for, it's just like all of those are stay so steady because they have guaranteed distributions being put into those car contributions every single month, every single week. All the investment funds hold them. They're not emotional. They keep large amounts of money, and all of those stay so stable. And that's why you see all like the crazy meme stocks, all like the more high flying stocks that trade more at retail have such more crazy price swings because you have much more emotional money with a bunch of people who, you know, really can't afford to do the things they want to do. And so they're constantly trying to do all these, you know, not really get rich quick schemes, but like, you know, they might need the money for their real life. They might need the money here, need the money there. They can't afford to, you know, hold through the ups and downs. Whereas a lot of the established stores like, you know, yourself and others can afford to not have to get so emotional with their products and their holdings. So like, that's just kind of the way I view the market more and why I think it's more stable now than it was because a lot of the bigger players have got even bigger and now they control a larger portion of the market. And so, you know, I think that's what's going to keep it more stable going forward.
But I mean, I guess it's hard though because I'm not. I mean, I'm technically not an established store. Like, obviously, I have an online presence on YouTube, but I think I've had one like I've had like a handful at most of people that have come into the shop that watch my content. Um, like most of the people that have literally come into my store are individuals that literally were like, "Hey, I used to have to go to this store. It was a 15-minute drive. The customer service sucked. I didn't want to have to go there. I'm really glad you guys are open because not only are you guys closer, but you offer way better customer service." Comparably, right? My store is coming up on 9 months old. We're an 8-month old shop. So obviously, like
Dude,
being that new.
come on, stop it.
What? That's true.
Everything you're saying is true, but you have a 200 person Patreon that people are begging to get in, guaranteed sales to those people every single time a set comes out. One of the largest allocations in the industry. Like, dude, stop playing around like you're some little card shop. Come on.
But I guess, but that's not what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say here is that doesn't disconnect me from the fact that my business in and of itself is extremely new to owning a card shop. Like, sure, you can say I'm a quote unquote part owner of a shop in Oregon, but like I literally have visited that shop 3 times, right? The only reason why I have equity in that shop to begin with is because it was a part of the agreement that I had made with the individual to help them get the ground running so that I could give them access to distribution. And then from that, I was obviously able to open the wholesale program as new distribution lines came up. But I'm not in any way getting any such marketing from my previous wholesale program and or established brand that is causing traffic to come to my storefront. It just is coming from my business acumens that have made it successful. That's just, you know, point blank the point I'm trying to, I guess, get to. Obviously it'd be one thing if I had all of my social medias blasting, pushing everyone to come check out my store. But considering the fact that our literal like Instagram account and Facebook account has like around 150, you know, followers, and we've only been around for 8 or 9 months, and most of our like traction has come from word of mouth. Like it's not like we're a business that's highly established in the way of some of the local ones here that have been around for 5 to 10 plus years. I just obviously happen to, like I said before, come into the hobby very level headed, understanding how it already works. And so I had the experience and the wherewithal to understand how to run a successful brick and mortar without having obviously done it myself. I could have easily failed and not known what I was doing, and I could have been emotional and not done such as well. And obviously, I also kind of come into a market where it doesn't feel like it's, you know, nearly as hard as if it were have done 5 years ago where the market wasn't as euphoric. So it's like, you know, it's kind of hard to say. There's so much variability that comes with it.
I mean, I'm just gonna say something to everybody in the chat that's all negative. Listen, sell your stuff. Sell your stuff. Stop buying. That's my advice. Sell your Pokemon stuff. Stop buying, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, just like
So
just
that's so
just like coming to videos
facetious.
and saying how like giving like saying how negative people are and like you know like coming and saying like oh it's gonna tank or oh this is gonna happen that's gonna happen a economic downturn is gonna happen a recession. Literally just go sell it and you know everyone else that buys it you can laugh at it and we'll just see how it turns out. Like I don't know what else to say. I'm not here to convince anybody to invest in Pokemon. I'm just giving you guys my take. So Everyone in the chat who doesn't think my takes are good, have at it, dude. Like, sell everything. That's my take.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any such belief that there will be any form of correction at some point, or do you think this is just going to go up forever?
Overall market correction?
Yes.
I'm unsure on that. If you're saying Twilight forward, absolutely.
I'm not trying to I'm not trying to play the game of picking sets. I'm just saying in general,
No, no.
will
What
there
I'm
be a
saying is
market
like the sets
correction?
that I'm pretty certain we're going to get good amounts of reprints on. Like, no, I don't know if like
Take
we're going to see
sets
massive
out of it.
correction.
Take sets out of it. Do you think we will get to a point where, regardless of the set, you will start to see a normalization again with new set releases not selling for $200 to $300 a box?
Yes, but at the same time,
Hmm.
I know there were. I can name tons of sets. Tons, I mean. After the COVID crash and all the vintage and everything went down so much, there were countless modern boxes that didn't see more than a 10 to 20% downward move.
Right. I
From
mean,
the
I assume
tops,
you're
from the
talking.
tops.
I assume you're talking like Sun and Moon era. Yes.
Well, that's the boxes that were around in that era. Yeah.
Right.
Even
But
like
that's
Sword and Shield
not.
base, Rebel
But
Clash.
that's not what I'm arguing here. What I'm
But you just said it.
arguing.
Do I think the whole thing's going to correct? And I don't. I think the brand new stuff will, but I don't think the overall market will correct that much sealed wise.
No, I said take booster boxes set. Okay. What I said specifically was take sets out of it, like take trying to predict Twilight, Journey, whichever sets. In making this prediction, I'm saying at some point, will there be an opportunity for people to buy booster boxes at a normal rate before we had the hysteria? I didn't say it was going to be Paldea. I didn't say it was going to be Sword and Shield.
Yeah, I didn't
just
know
said
what you meant by a correction.
At some point, do you think that will happen?
Yeah. I took correction as like an overall market correction. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, I think I said it before. I think a good price range for boxes is probably somewhere between 110 to 140, depending on how strong the set is. Especially at the new MSRP, I think that's a good price for stores to make money and it to be affordable for the regular person. I've also said before, like, people like want to make a big deal about booster box prices, like some kind of metric, but my metric is always price per pack. Like, $144 booster box is $4 a pack. I think that's extremely realistic.
I think for me, it is difficult to really say, obviously, what the new floor is past the point of, just saying, okay, what do we know from what history has shown us? And will that kind of happen again? Because the only reason why we had a new floor to begin with on boosters, right? Because if you go back and look at like during the Sword and Shield era, when everything kind of corrected, you had Silver Tempest booster boxes selling for 90 a box. Like that's really cheap, especially considering how well Silver has performed over the span of its existence. Whereas with the Scarlet and Violet era, most of the boxes, other than the fact when you obviously saw a huge correction come in with Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, and the downward pressure that came with Paldea and SV Base, most of them were coming out new set release for around 105, 110, which to be fair, that wasn't because there was so much strength in the market, but it was because of the new pricing for MSRP and wholesale. So I guess without any sort of like wherewithal knowledge to really understand how things are going to look, obviously, in my personal opinion, after a correction comes, the general assumption is it's going to be right around 110, 120, depending upon obviously the popularity of the sets themselves. I mean, let's be real here, right? Even during downtimes in the market, 151 was still a set that was above MSRP when it came out. So let's not, say that isn't going to happen even after correction. Just assuming now sets like, as much as I hate to say it, like, Paradox and Obsidian, they are obviously where they are right now because we've gotten no new supply on the market since they obviously were first released, and there was a lot of supply that made the price stay low for a very long time. And their sets, obviously, me, I've talked about Paradox. I'm a fan of Paradox as a set, but I definitely think to a certain extent that it's sets like Paradox, sets like SV Base, sets like Sword and Shield base and Rebel Clash. They're all sets that were made fun of and said that they were. Literally Rebel Trash is what it was called, and it never got another print. And if it did, that would have changed things, right? So it'll be interesting to see what it's going to look like, and how that's going to happen. People are also talking about the macroeconomic scale. That is one thing that's just wildly unpredictable at that point. Because
I wanted to take that too, Poke Collector J, because dude, there are literally people complaining about that right now. Every single day, you can turn on TikTok, turn on something else. Everyone's complaining about groceries and rent and cost of how dude, it's been complained about for a year now. People are still paying more than ever for Pokemon. Then people said, oh, the credit card debt's so high. Yeah, the credit card debt's still high. Guess what? The default rates are still near all-time lows. It's like, we can always pull all these other factors, try to explain and make your point valid. But the fact of the matter is, all of those factors have not played a part in the hobby yet. And I've been hearing about those for literally at least half a year, if not more.
It's hard. It's hard because
dude, if you turn on TikTok or Instagram Reels and you let the algorithm pick up that you're watching videos about people complaining about cost of living, dude, every time you scroll, there's another new person. You'll go through 100 people all talking about the same thing. Everything's too expensive. It'll get you thinking no one can afford anything. And then you look at the Pokemon market and it's still up. It's just like, dude, we've been hearing about this forever. What do you think? Things are just great right now for everybody? I don't think so, but Pokemon's still doing well. So it's just maybe things get worse. Maybe they get better. Who knows?
Yeah. Experience Share says history didn't have rip and shippers. Dude, I don't know, man. Listen, I will probably get made fun of, and you guys can come at me all you want. It's completely fine. But I feel like I just hear this argument just wrapped differently every single time. Because the argument before, because I've had this exact same conversation with people before the Lost Origin Silver Tempest booster box reprint occurred. And the same exact thing happened before we had the 2021 reprint. And it was before we never had Logan Paul. We never had Logan Paul bringing the hysteria into the market. We never had content creators influence the way it is currently in the market. We never had Poke YouTubers talk about investments in the same. Dude, you can name it whatever you want to name it. And obviously there is validity to it. I'm not discrediting your point because I do agree that it is something that needs to be taken into consideration. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that didn't stop it regardless.
All right, but here, let me throw this at you because this is something you can't deny, right?
Okay.
All right. Go back to XY, right? When a lot of people, including myself, got in. You saw the Primal Clash Roaring Skies reprint happen and crash everything. And even Rudy famously gave up through everything his bathroom gave up. You saw everything recover. And then you saw Sun and Moon come around. Everything was going good. A big downturn happened there. A lot of reprints happened. A lot of things, blowing things out on the shelves, Shining Legends on the shelf. Everything was getting blown out on clearance. Everything recovered. You saw the pandemic come, boom, and then crash. Massive reprints. Vivid Voltage ETBs, Darkness Blaze, Shining, Chilling, Fusion, Battle Styles. Everything recovered. We saw the same thing happen beginning of Scarlet Violet era. Everything recovered. Eventually, enough people catch on to patterns, and it almost makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you see something happen enough times, it almost becomes true, and people believe in it. The confidence gets so high. That's why things like the S&P and all that work too, is people they're so confident, they just keep throwing money in it because they know, hey, it's going to come down, but guess what? It's going to recover in a 2, 3, 4 year period. And it's business as usual. And it's just enough people believing that and putting their money where their mouth is makes it true, unfortunately. Whether it should or shouldn't happen.
No, I don't disagree with you on that. But also a large portion of that is coming down to the fact that most of those sets end up rotating out and then they just never get a print again. And so the sets that get hurt the most are obviously the ones that are getting reprinted because there's more product availability for that item, right? When you look and you see what happened, like you said, during the original correction, Sun and Moon product held up super strong. And that was just because there wasn't a ton of Sun and Moon product that was available to begin with. And the demand for it was extremely high, especially considering you had a kind of resurgence, or this is going to sound cheesy to say, a renaissance in Pokemon art styles where everyone started to fall in love with alternate art designs. And you had a ton of that during the tag team era. And so because of that, they held extremely strong even after the fact. So I don't disagree with you in any sense of the matter that there aren't going to be sets that are going to be in the Scarlet and Violet era that once they go out of rotation, let's say hypothetically, right? And this will maybe be a good point of example or point of emphasis that kind of connects both of our arguments here. If Paldea evolved, right? Let's just say hypothetically speaking, what was so funny?
So I'm sorry, dude. My wife just came down. We have every quarter we have like a bulky trash pickup where the city comes and you can put like bulky trash.
We have that here.
So we put a washer and dryer out, and we had boxes and boxes of broken down Build and Battle Stadium or what was the stupid things, Pokemon stadiums or whatever.
Yeah.
Or not stadiums. No, what are they called? The Battle Academies. Broken down Battle Academies. Broken down tins like that couldn't fit in the trash can. So I just built up piles of boxes. We threw it all out to the curb, right? Because it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
A truck came by. They must have saw like the Pokemon stuff. They loaded up every one of them and took them.
Oh yeah, I had that.
And they're gonna get home and realize it's just empty boxes and empty tins.
So we had that happen for us because ours is once a month is when they do that. And back when like we first started the program and I was doing breakdowns for like tins, Build and Battle stadiums, literally you name it, we weren't able to fit enough of it. And so we were like piling it up in our garage to the point of where it took like literally half the garage up. Yeah. And then eventually we had to like one day just go out and put it on the curb. And within like the week, half of it was gone because people had come and taken it before the trash service had even come to pick it up.
Dude, that's so funny, man.
Yeah.
But go back to what you were saying. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so here's a good point. I think that might be good in terms of connecting the points or the perspectives we're both giving. Let's say for a hypothetical sense, let's say tomorrow Pokemon comes out and they print, Paldea Evolved and a bunch of these older sets into the Ever-Loving Ground, right? I think at some point, obviously, I feel with 100% certainty after they go out of rotation, but I think at some point you would easily see a recovery and you would easily see the price of that booster box retake its obvious previous high. And that more specifically has to do with the fact that with time and more specifically with scarcity, these items are going to continue to go up in value. So for me, it's not a matter of an argument of let's try and play the game of making predictions on what's going to get printed and what's not. That's something neither of us can predict. But what I can say is whatever does get printed, if Pokemon does, of course, print it into the ground, the general assumption that I'm going to have thereafter is you're going to see a normalization into the market where the market's going to stabilize. A lot of new sets are going to come down from being $200+ pre-orders. And then, of course, once you see hysteria or euphoria in the market occur again, those boxes, which people now will no longer have picked up on because things normalize at 110, 120, as soon as we get back to another crazy cycle, we'll be going for $200-300 plus because of the general scarcity that will have happened over time as those items get eaten up again. And we'll just continue this cycle. It's just a matter of time before we see that happen. It's just, when will it happen? What sets is kind of where I feel like we just don't know.
Let's pivot to the set itself.
Journey.
What's your feelings?
How do I feel about Journey as a set overall? Okay, first and foremost, I think it's a good set. I obviously am a little upset that the box topper in and of it, I understand why they didn't do it because it would just be so bad for the hobby. But I'm upset the box topper was just one item. I wish it was like, if it was like random, it would be stamped. You know how sick that would be?
Dude, not to get off topic, I hope the Lego release is like a main Lego set, but then like it has like a bunch of randoms that you have to buy. Like, oh, you have to try and collect all the Pokemon. You have to buy like all these different bags, dude. They could get crazy with that Lego thing. have like a randomization to it as well. Oh my gosh. The sealed market would be incredible.
I know. I'm definitely saddened by the fact that they didn't do that. Especially too because I mean, most people that know me, I'm a huge Gen 4 fan, huge Gen 5 fan. And so Ends Reshiram was a card that I love. And I guess from a scarcity perspective, I can't be truly upset over it because it shouldn't be too difficult to acquire. However, I know it's pre-sale and the prices will probably correct. The fact of the matter that it's pre-selling for $40 right now as a stamp promo is mind-boggling to me. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I dude, I think it's the perfect release, to be honest with you. I think this is the absolute perfect set we needed after Prismatic. People were so upset at the pull rates of Prismatic, which is funny because they're actually good. If you count Pokeballs and Master Balls as hits, I mean, when you open Prismatic, if you count Pokeball, Master Ball, EX, and Full Arts, you actually do get a good amount of hits. You get bricks of hits. I open it all the time. People just don't see those as hits, so it seems like you're not getting anything.
Well, yeah, that was an argument I made when we had
Yeah.
the debate regarding Prismatic. I had said that, well, there's Master Balls, and people were like, yeah, but who cares? Like, I want, more IRs. I want IRs,
Yeah.
right?
And that's why I really love this set is
Mhm.
I opened 2 cases last night. Again, small amount, but I got like an average of 14 hits a box. And it's been what I've said they should do for the longest time. I think they should load the boxes with hits as long as they're the low end hits. Because here's my thought process is unless it's a playable card, all the EXs are always going to end up being worthless anyway. They're going to be 50 cents, $1, or whatever. If they're already going to be worthless, what's the difference putting 6 in a box, 8 in a box, 10 in a box? Why not throw 10 of those in a box? They're all going to, at least people get to pull shiny stuff. Great, right? Keep the 3 IRs a box like they did. 3 IRs is perfect. And then throw another 1 or 2 cards in there, 14, 15 hits, maybe throw a gold, an SIR, whatever. I think that's the perfect way to do it. And so I love how they got rid of ace specs. I think they ran their course. They were great. I liked them in Tempora. I liked them, but they ran their course. I liked how they got rid of the silver cards. Great. Those ran their course. Those were kind of getting stacked, boring. And I love the full art trainer Pokemon cards. They're just regular full arts, but I love how they have the trainer and the Pokemon on them. Beautiful. And I like how the SIRs are either as hard or a little harder to hit than Surging, Stellar, and Twilight were, which makes those, even though it's a small set, it still makes them rare enough to have value. I think everything they did with this set is a perfect set to follow up Prismatic, in my opinion.
No, I think it's a great set. I mean, for those of you guys who have watched my content for a while, especially when I went and did my solo streams, one of the comments that a lot of people left, just as like a fun comment, was, Eli, what set would you like to see them come out with? And the one thing I had always said is I would love it if they reintroduced like a Gym Hero set, because for me, I really loved, and I mentioned this, knowing that obviously they had the trainer gallery, but I said something where you actually had the icons of the characters themselves reintroduced back into the sets for more modern, because we just haven't seen that in so long, since I think it was the I'd have to say Diamond and Pearl era, and the Platinum era was the last time they
I
did
guess
that.
trainer galleries and
Well,
technically,
that's what I just was saying though, is with trainer galleries, they didn't have the actual icon of like the
true.
character. They haven't seen that since the Pokemon Diamond Pearl Platinum era. And so that was what I always told people was something I was really hoping that they would, bring back again for some of the newer sets. And they finally did it. So it's literally what I've been asking for forever. It's been something I've been extremely excited for, hoping that they would do at some point again, and they did it. And they did it with some of my favorite characters. They did it with some of my favorite Pokemon. So for me, I think it's a great set. I think the biggest issue, I would say more than anything, is it's a great set, but I feel like it's still going to get overshadowed by Distant Rivals.
Yeah.
And we
One
haven't
thing
even seen the full set list of Destined Rivals yet,
I think it's
Um,
probably got next to Crown Zenith. It's probably got the best gold cards.
oh yeah,
Those
no,
trainer gold cards, like obviously doesn't touch, the
yeah,
golds from Crown Zenith, but compared to other sets of regular golds, I think they're way better.
no, it's sick. It's sick. I mean, for me, obviously already said it before, I'm a huge Gen 5 fan, so getting the Lord, Ends, Reshiram, and the Zoroark I think is sick. Being a Gen 4 fan, though, the Cynthia's Garchomp is going to be so sick from Destin Rivals. So I am really excited about that. But I just, they're good sets. They are honestly, in my opinion, good sets.
And
That
you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as, oh, it's a smaller set, so they're gonna be easier to hit. True, but people like smaller sets when it comes to ripping. Like collectors, they love that because a lot of collectors, I know people always like, make the point, because people like get all like get their calculators out. Why don't you just log on to TCG Player and buy the card? People like to open the cards. People like to pull the physical card out of the pack or have it ripped for them, whatever, and actually get it. They don't always just want to go buy it, right? It's not the same feeling. And so the fact that the reason Obsidian Flames, I think, is doing good is because people like the fact they have a good chance of pulling the Charizard. You have a much harder chance of pulling, let's say, the Groudon or Roaring Moon from Paradox Rift, or the Magikarp or Iono from Paldea, because it's much bigger sets, much more SIRs and IRs. A lot of people who rip packs like the fact that smaller sets are released, where they have a much better chance of actually pulling the SIR or IR they want, instead of, well, yeah, I got a bunch of cool cards, but I didn't get the one I wanted. It's kind of like chasing, a alt art in maybe like, trying to pull the Silver Tempest Lugia, or trying to pull the Umbreon VMAX, or the, Blaziken VMAX, Gengar VMAX. Those are much harder because there's way more alt arts in that set. So to pull up a specific one, it's a lot harder. But to pull a specific alt art in Silver Tempest, it's much easier. And I think there's a benefit to that. There's positives and negatives of small sets, but I think because a lot of it's being opened these days, I think it's a positive.
Yeah. No, I've never been a fan of, and criticize me. It's an opinion. I've never been a fan of the, oh, well, the set's smaller. So what? If it's a good set, it's a good set. Like, I don't think it matters too much, because as with most things, people complain always. You're always going to hear complaints, right? And so for me, I feel like the biggest complaint I hear is with larger sets, people are like, oh, there's too many hits and it's so hard to hit the specific card I want. Or, oh, it's oversaturated. I wish it was a smaller set. Oh, the set is too small. I wish there was more hits. I think it's really a bummer that I can only pull 5 SIRs or whatever, right? Like, everyone's always going to complain always. It's same with like Pokemon investing, right? I feel like, and the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection is a perfect example of that, right? People always talked about how the Charizard UPC, when it was going for $300 a box, people were like, oh man, that thing's so hyperinflated. Like, if it ever corrected, like, I'm totally going to pick it up. And then the price kept crashing until it got all the way down to $75. And all of a sudden people are like, no, it's an absolute brick. I'm not going to pick it up. And it's like,
I think you're going to say then people started wanting it.
No, it was a brick. I got made fun of for saying I wanted to pick it up.
I got made fun of for flip-flopping. Everyone called me a flip-flopper. Alex, you said this was a bad purchase. I'm like, yeah, at 150 after release, I did. Now it's not.
No, it's like, so for me, and obviously we're talking more about the set and less about our previous conversation, but people don't put their money where their mouth is. That's all I have to say about all of this. So you can criticize me all you want for your takes, but also at the same time, you can say, what you want about how things are. But ultimately, no one ever wants to catch the falling knife. Like, that's just the reality of it all. And with this set as a whole, going back to people not putting their money where their mouth is and the criticisms regarding the set, it's going to hit 300 by April. It's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball.
It's not 100%. Eli, even if you do put your money where your mouth is, and then in 2 years it's higher, you're evil for owning it.
100%. No, people like to complain. People need to go touch grass.
Yes.
Like, no, seriously, like, frick you. Like, it's like, stop your whining. Like, I understand, like, everyone has an opinion now because we have the internet, but like, I'm just kind of over it, man. I'm over the whining, because it's just where it is. Like, learn to adapt, learn to understand things. And like, don't get me wrong, like, we can sit here and criticize sets all we want. Like, you and I both do it. Like, I am not, invincible from criticism. There's no denying that. I've had my share of mistakes and stupid takes and comments, but also the exact same time, like, I feel like people need to learn to recognize the fact that nothing is always going to be exactly the way you want it. Nothing's always going to be perfect. And that's
All right,
just it,
let's
right?
make a case. Make your case for buying Journey Together right now at the current price.
God, that's hard. That's so hard.
I can make my case.
I know. I know.
All right, I'm gonna make
Um,
it. I'll make it while you
you
think,
go, you
guys.
go, you go. You're
Guys, here's my case for buying Journey Together. These enhanced boxes with this card. Okay. It is the first time they've done this since Vintage. Put a box topper. Okay. There is no guarantees if they do an actual reprint, it will be another enhanced box. If by chance, and I'm not telling you to go all in, it makes sense to hold some, because if by chance they reprint this set multiple times and they never do another enhanced booster box with a promo card in it, and that is the only print run with those are going to the moon. Those will go to $300 to $400 to $500. Mark my words. People love scarcity in this hobby. They like having things that not everyone else can have. Yes, the pack price will drop. Yes, the single price will drop. Having that box sealed will become a thing. I think it makes sense to at least have one box, one case, whatever you're comfortable with. There is that possibility. It could happen. Maybe it doesn't, but it could.
yeah.
That's my take.
And just for clarification for people that don't know, because there's been a lot of misinformation going around, um, at least for us, right? And it seems like most of the other hobby shops that I've talked to, all of the booster boxes that everyone's receiving is box topper boxes. The ones that you get that are not box topper are included in pre-release kits. Specifically, and if I'm correct, I think like the UK and Europe, don't quote me on it because I'm not super obviously familiar with outside the US, but I don't think they're getting the box topper ones like we are. But
Really?
that's what I've heard from some people. But like I said, just don't quote me on it. I know for a fact that at least within the US, it is the pre-release kits are the ones which don't include it. So it was one of these weird things, and you saw it in the pricing on TCG Player, where you had the box topper one selling for like 400 a piece, and you saw like the non-box topper one selling for so much cheaper. And then when people realized that it was actually the other way around, and the box topper ones were more popular, then you saw them crash in price all the way down to like 275, and now the standard one's worth more. It's kind of funny to see that if you go look at the charts on TCG Player.
Seeing that
But
promo worth so much, though, that's throwing me for a loop.
Average Player says you guys have both as well. I'm curious what the situation is though on what like warrants you guys getting one or the other, Average Player. But yeah, no. So for me, just understanding the scarcity of the box toppers currently is not as great as many people see. Okay, so Average Player says they have enhanced, but it's less than the standard ones, right?
Here's
But
the real question. What do you think that promo crashes to after pre-release?
oh my gosh.
It's currently $39.48 lowest list.
Oh, I know. It's so expensive. Yeah,
I mean, it can't be over $20.
To your point though, Alex, just because I wanted to obviously get that out of the way before I
yeah.
give my position or take, I think that for me, I think that I don't see it as being a bad play to at least have one case, because I think your point is valid. Because hypothetically, we have absolutely no clue if the next, print of, the next print of Journey is going to be a box topper one. So if it ends up not being, then you could see yourself in a position where you went and picked up the box for like 250, thinking, it was bad, but then because a reprint comes, and then you end up actually making more money off the fact because the reprint ends up being just the standard ones without box toppers. So I definitely see that being an argument that is, I mean, it's very secure from like, hey, if you're wrong, it is what it is. But if you're right, guess what? You got in and made out really heavily in it.
Yeah, and it's just I would take a small bet. Like if you normally buy 5 cases, maybe hold a few, maybe hold one box or a few boxes, maybe one case. Like I wouldn't make it a huge position size, like holding at this price or buying at this price, but I think it's worth it to have some.
Yeah. past the point of that like level of speculation, for me personally, um I'm nervous, man. I'm like point blank nervous because Pokemon, it's been a long time since we've gotten really anything in terms of product. Um,
I
we
don't
can
know. Are
obviously,
we downplaying the 151 restock though?
what do you mean?
That's a pretty good amount of product.
Are you talking about like most
The,
recently?
yeah, the bundles and the blooming waters. That was a good amount.
I mean, if you're talking blooming waters, yes. I definitely get that. But
I mean, a lot of people got quite a bit of bundles too.
I think the problem is though is you have to go wide. If you just reprint like one or two items, the demand is so heavily concentrated right now that people don't have the opportunity to pick and choose. Because if you were to say tomorrow, Pokemon is going to reprint Paldea Evolved into the ground and they're going to print the crap out of it, I think that it will rebound within like a month. And that has nothing to do with the fact that I think it's because
It would
Pokemon
be
can't.
just like Lost Origin Silver Tempest.
Well, more so, it has to do with the fact that with like Lost Origin Silver Tempest, when that happened, you also saw reprints for base set. You also saw reprints for Crown Zenith and 151. And so you had items that you had an opportunity to pick up at a cheap price. And so people could play the game of like picking and choosing. It wasn't like, okay, this one item is getting reprinted. This is my one opportunity to get something for cheaper. And so everyone is funneling all of their opportunity into this item because it's the only opportunity that seems to make the most rational sense. So for me, it's like Pokemon, if they're going to make a play, it's going to be one that's going to come from multiple different sets. And Journey seems to be one of those sets where they've already talked about wanting to come out with a second wave for it. So I just get really nervous when it comes to Journey and knowing what that's going to kind of look like, um, going forward. So past the point of like the one case kind of hedging your point of, if the second wave ends up not being a box topper one, I get really nervous holding a heavy position because it's been too long since Pokemon has done any sort of major print with multiple different sets all being printed at the same time. But that's just me. I know obviously you are a little bit more bullish than I am on that take, but
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not super bullish on it. Like I just think it's smart to have some position.
I mean, I just stay true to my fundamental belief, which is be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. And right now, the greed in Pokemon's insane.
Dude, here's the thing though.
It's
Like I
so
said, even
greedy right now.
dude, look at this chat though. You know how many people? I mean, I don't. You probably don't pay attention, but like, dude, when I was making my points, I would say there was more people that were negative on what I was saying, more positive on what you were saying. I've seen it in my videos, my other live streams. There is a lot of people right now that are getting very negative on the market and saying they're like, stop buying, they're selling. I'm like, dude, you could actually make the case both ways. There's a lot of casual people who are very greedy. There's a lot of people who are deep right now. They're actually getting very kind of scared. So I'm just like, maybe that's almost like taking advantage of all their fear and getting more greedy. I don't know.
I think
There's definitely fear that is creeping in this hobby right now. It's not all greed anymore.
here's an interesting question for you, Alex. This will be actually a good one. So I assume you obviously are aware of the market psychology chart, yeah? I am curious, in your opinion, I'm going to share for those of you guys who haven't seen this before. So this specific chart is a chart that shows up quite often in just life in general. You see this in crypto, you see this in stocks, commodities, etc. Just because when it comes to general like charting on how markets react, it's as crazy as this sounds, it's running on human emotions, right? Because humans are predictable. We, as much as we hate to admit it, we are innately emotional in nature. And so because of that, you tend to see, you know, life imitates art and art imitates math, as with described in Fibonacci trading and theory. And so with that all being said, looking at a chart which obviously talks about the fundamental emotions that are behind general market cycles, I'm curious what your kind of thought is, Alex, on where you think we are within this market, or if you think this is unrepresentable to where things are currently. I'm just curious if there's anything that you're seeing here that kind of
I think we're probably in that belief thrill range, somewhere in there. I don't think we're at complete euphoria yet. I don't think we're topping yet. I think we still have destined rivals, maybe even after that. I think we're somewhere between belief and thrill, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think? I think belief. I think belief was kind of when Stellar came out and started to do well, and then Surging came out and crushed it. I would say that's where we probably crossed belief, and I would say thrill was prismatic, and now, like, I think we're probably getting to the thrill stage. I don't think. I think we're still a ways, not a ways away. I don't think we're at the top though, dude. I think it gets crazier from here. I really do.
I would say that for me personally, I think we're currently thrill and we're getting close to euphoria.
As in terms of months, do you have like a month?
That's hard. I think that the reason why I say we're getting to euphoria soon is because Destined Rivals, and Final Fantasy, you know, because if you look at 2021, which obviously, you know, I keep having to say it, I understand it's a different time. Do you remember how things were in the lead up to the 25th anniversary?
Yeah.
Like insane madness to the 10th degree.
Hey, I do want to say something though, dude. So we both said somewhere around thrill, right? So this is what I want to tell people. No matter what time frame you want to assign to this chart, look at thrill to complacency. Right? Look at that. Look at that chart.
Yeah.
Look at how much time there's ups and downs. There's euphoria, and there's that big dip after euphoria. On this chart, the prices stay stable within a range for a long period of time. And so whatever you do believe, you think it's gonna keep going, you think it's gonna do bad, don't get in too much of a rush, right? Markets do take time to turn over. They do go through a trading range near the top before they actually go over that hill. And this chart illustrates it perfectly, is that you don't need to always catch the exact top right before. You're going to have time either way. Make sure it's the right decision for all of your buys and all of your sells, and don't do any knee-jerk reaction, emotional buys or sells. Because as you can see here, no matter where you think we are, belief, thrill, euphoria, there's time near the top that you have time to decide.
Yeah. No, it's you know, it's hilarious. I'm going to share this on the screen. Look at 2020. Look at the chart.
Yeah.
Look at how similar it is.
Yeah.
Where you see that, and this is Google Trends, obviously. So this isn't an exact indicative. It's more specifically having to do with, you know, trying to line up the charting in the best way we can, looking at an overall market. This is searches over time, over a 5-year span. You see a chart that mirrors this almost identically, right? Yep. And if you look at it right now, where we are currently and our legs up, you had 2 legs up before you had your final leg. If you're saying this is leg 1, this is leg 2, then we still got one more big leg to go.
That's what I said. That's exactly where I think we are.
Yeah. Dude. I mean, it makes sense. And I think for more specifically within the market itself, I think that final leg during 2021 was kind of the it was the 25th anniversary. And so for us, I think that we obviously can't make predictions here on what the final leg is going to be, but it could be Destined Rivals. It could be the 30th anniversary next year, right? It could be another set that we thought Destined Rivals was insane, but it's even crazier, right? It's hard to really know where things are going to start and when people are going to get off the bus, because arguably speaking, although the 30th anniversary will do really well, I would argue that there is an argument to be made that if the market slows down, it could still do significantly uh worse than people realize or expected, because it would be in a more bearish time, because like we saw with both Crown Zenith and 151, those sets were I would say inarguably extremely undervalued for the pricing in which you were able to get them at, even being over MSRP, because the demand for the market wasn't where it is now. I mean, ultra premium collections for the longest time were selling for sub $100, and now they're selling for 350, which is crazy, right? So if you throw some of these sets in bearish markets compared to bullish markets, you can really see a shift in how they perform, regardless of whether they're an amazing set. Like good sets can be undervalued quite easily.
You know what the great part about like this is like this is what really makes people mad. They're like, don't like investors, is that, as much as people hate it, technical analysis, it works, guys. Like, it works in the stock market, it works in the Pokemon market. A lot of people who are really into the fundamentals and really kind of like push fundamental analysis to the side, that they just don't understand it. But look, this is what I've always used. Everything Eli just showed, like, this is what I look at when I base my decisions on things. And it's why when people get mad at me, because I'm like, guys, it doesn't matter what's in the set, it doesn't matter what the cards are. And when everyone gets real deep into what you can consider the fundamentals of this hobby, kind of with stock market, you consider like, all the inside, finances, like, but like, so everyone dives into the fundamentals of these sets so deeply. And this is why, like, I've been able to be successful, at least in this run, is because, like, guys, none of this matters. The technical analysis, the charts show this is where we're heading, whether you like it or not. And, like everything we just showed, guys, that's what you need to be looking at, is the overall trends, and not so much the stupid internet noise of all these people getting all these stupid opinions, the Discords, the Reddits. It's meaningless. The money is going to flow how the money flows. And,
Yeah.
you can either accept it or not, but I mean, you can't get mad at people that understand that truth and make plays based on it. And, it's why they're successful with it.
Yeah. No, 100%. I've always lived by the same motto: be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. But also at the same exact time, just general, sound advice is always be cautiously optimistic in times like this. Because I think if you live life that way, it allows you to be in a position where you're not leaving opportunities on the table, but you're also not putting yourself in a position where you yourself start to get emotional and over leverage, because that's when you really start to see the greed come in, is when it overtakes you, consumes you, and then you end up biting the bullet on it.
Yeah, and another thing, like, isn't talked about, because I know Poke Collector Jay's been on my case the whole time. Every time I say something, he leaves another comment. But if you're gonna sell, okay, you got to pick a point to sell. Is it the top? Maybe, maybe not, right? What if it keeps running and then it drops, and the drop is barely below what you sold it for, right? Here's another thing. If when you sell, when are you going to buy in again? Are you going to buy that product again? Are you going to buy back into Pokemon? Where are you going to buy? Now you got to pick a point to buy. Is that going to be the low? Is it going to keep dropping? Is it going to go stagnant? It's like this timing the market nonsense. Look, just like I said back in Sun and Moon, a lot of stuff didn't drop more than 10 or 20% during the big COVID crash. So where'd you sell? Did you sell at the very top? You sell near the top, sell after the top? Were you even able to buy back in? Did you take advantage of any of this run? Did you take advantage of Unified Minds boxes going to $1,800? Was it a bad move to then sell Unified Minds into that run back in 2021 and not hold and see another couple 100% gain into this run a couple of years later? Are you doing better off with that money that you sold and put somewhere else? These are all the questions people don't ask themselves because they're so emotional about, I got to sell near the top. I can't afford to lose even a dime. If it drops 10%, oh, I could have sold. It's just like, okay, well, what'd you do with the money? Did you put it somewhere else that didn't lose money? Do you think the market's not going to drop? Real estate's not going to drop? Do you think it's better in cash? Is cash not going to depreciate as much? Is your money market going to do better? No one runs all these simulations, right? They just think, I need to sell. And it's just like, to do what? That's always what I go, to do what?
Yeah, that's the thing, is there's a lot of people that are always sitting on the sideline, and they're always afraid and emotional on their decision making. And it just keeps them out, right? Everyone gets scared. I mean, heck, I remember, and I've used this example before, back during the first time like corrections were happening, I had saw the Lugia PSA 9 first ed from Neogen. It was selling for like 20 like $700 on a listing, $2,800 on a listing. And at its peak was selling for 15 grand was the highest sold listing. So like you're talking like 70-80% retracement at that point. And for me, I was like, oh dude, like this is a great like pickup. I'm gonna pick it up because I think it just seems like a good buy in my point. You know, it's one of the most popular cards in the history of Pokemon. Anyway, long story short, I buy it. Within a month, the price drops $400. And I end up selling it at like, I think I was able to sell it at only like a $100 loss. So I got really lucky because I should have lost way more. Because a month later, the price dropped all the way down into the low 2000s. And so if I had held on to it, I would have lost almost a grand. But I guess it goes to show you that like when it comes to market times like this, especially from my own personal experience, people will try and like make statements like what we saw during the time of the Charizard UPC. And you're either going to have people that are going to watch the falling knife happen and they're going to get scared and they're not going to want to buy in because they're afraid, or you're going to have people like myself using my own personal mistakes as kind of a point of emphasis, where they're going to look at that as a buying opportunity. They're going to get in and then they're going to realize, holy crap, this has actually way more downward pressure than I realized. And then, you know, sell in a position where they would much rather take a much lower loss getting out now and waiting later, because that happens, I feel like, quite honestly, more often than not than people realize. Because you underestimate, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying just in general, people underestimate how emotional individuals get the minute they hop into something and it starts to perform poorly out the gate. Because there is so many people that are in this hobby that are literally, and you've even said this yourself, Alex, that will literally buy product and then be like, okay, now how do I go about selling this? Because they just want to get in and they want to get out immediately so that they can make money. And so if you see people have that same exact mentality on a quote unquote dip, but then price is correct, they're going to be in and out of that position so fast because they're not going to be able to get their free tendies like people are telling them to buy the dip, because they don't have the patience for the dip.
Yeah, man. It's like I said, man, it's just like it's everything. It's not just Pokemon. I remember all the emotional people that listened to all the idiots on CNBC about like the housing market, you know, and interest rates and all this stuff. And they sold their houses in 2021. So sell my house. I'm gonna buy back in when the market crashes. How'd that work out? They're all still living in apartments. They're living with their parents or something, waiting for the market to correct and buy a house back. It's just like, you know, everyone, before you sell, if you think we're there at the top, before you sell, ask yourself, what am I going to do with this money? Am I going to sit in cash? Well, okay, you can sit in cash for a while before inflation really matters, right? So you can sit in cash for a while. Am I going to put it in the stock market? So you don't think the stock market's going to drop either? Okay. Am I going to put it, where are you going to put it to work at? Do you think Pokemon's going to like correct, or you're going to have a chance to buy something else that quickly? Do you have another place for it? Like, have a plan. Don't make knee-jerk reaction decisions with your money. It's always the wrong move. Usually doing nothing is the right move, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Another, I don't know why I have all these sayings, but another one that I hear that I like a lot is, the trend is your friend until the end of the trend. Which is a funny statement, because ultimately right now you're hearing me say a lot of bearish sentiment, but right now the trend, just so everyone understands where my standpoint is, right now the trend is upward trajectory. I think that Journey is going to hit $300 a booster box, of course, unless a huge reprint happens. But if that doesn't happen anytime soon, it's going to hit 300. I think Destin is going to be insane. I think any set afterwards is going to be crazy until the trend ends, because whether it be, you know, something happens in the macro market, like the stock market, you know, the overall US economy or world economy, or you start to see Pokemon come out with these reprints. But until that happens, I'm not going to put myself in a position to where I'm now going to get skittish. I'm just going to once again be cautious and understand that, okay, we're in a point of euphoria. You know, I'm not going to, you know, leave money on the table. I'm still going to take advantage of the opportunities that are going on in the market where things feel like they're just going to keep going up forever. But also, I'm not going to over leverage myself during this trending cycle, because it feels like it could end at any point. But until then, I'm going to keep riding this wave, because it feels dumb not to, because like Alex said, it's really difficult to time the top. And so if you want to try and like look like a genius and time the top, that's one thing, but it's very difficult to do. And most of the time people end up getting burnt for it.
I'd love to do interviews like in this hobby, kind of like, just where like we're not giving our opinions. I'd love to just like ask people, not like try to influence their decision, not like try to judge them, just to get their real answers. Because I want to ask them like what they do with their finances, like in their other parts of their life. Like, like people that get really scared about buying Pokemon. Like they hold it for like more than a day. They're like scared. It's just like, do you own any stocks? Do you own any crypto? Do you invest in a retirement fund? Do you pay extra house payments towards your house? Are you comfortable holding equity in your house? Like, I would love to just get like an idea. Are they just afraid of like having money anywhere? Is it just Pokemon? If it's just Pokemon, maybe Pokemon investing is not for you. Are you just afraid to have money invested anywhere? Do you not trust the banks? Do you hold your money under your mattress? Like, I just people like, I don't know. They interest me. I would love to get like their takes on why they feel the way they do about things.
Yeah. Definitely having some big whale investor would be cool to kind of see their, general sentiment, especially with Pokemon being such a different market as a whole compared to stocks, seeing where their mindset came from, I guess, and what kind of led to where they are.
You want to take the super chats?
I was about to say, you ready for some supers? All right, we're already an hour and 15. We're gonna try and let's take the supers, and then here's what we're gonna do. If you want us to answer your question in bold, put question followed up by your question. That way it's a lot easier for us in the chat to find it. And then also as well, make sure leave a like, comment down below, subscribe really helps the channel. We're going to try and speed run questions here just because we usually take at the 45-minute mark questions and we're already half an hour over. So starting number 1, Abraham, cannot wrap my head around buying JT for about the same as Brilliant, Chilling, Silver, or maybe even Astral. It baffles me. Wow. First and foremost, Abraham, thank you for the $5. No, I get it. And I don't blame you for taking the position of saying I'm going to stick to those sets that are not in rotation and I'm going to purchase them because they feel safer. Because I would honestly agree with you, right? Like I've said this so much already at this point. If I were selling off and trying to put my money in a position in the hobby where I felt the safest, it would be in Evolving Skies. And so for me right now, like past the kind of speculative point that Alex made, which is more or less a hedge against the second printing if they decide not to do the box toppers, I think that obviously is a good smart play to make. But past that, I'm not going out and buying like 10, 20, 30 cases at current market prices of Journey.
Abraham, if you normally buy, 1 or 2 cases of a set, buy a box or 2. If you normally buy 5 or 10 cases of a set, buy a case and leave it at that and let the market do what it does. And then buy more later and dollar cost average down at a larger volume at a lower cost later. That's my advice. Yeah,
I agree. Pokey Gaga, thank you so much for the $5. I bought a case of PRE ETBs from Rudy. People laugh because it dropped after released. More ETBs at 100. They laughed. The case is back at 1,500.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, it's we had people.
I got laughed at plenty when I was buying Paldea Evolved when it was 85 and making videos about it when everyone was telling me Silver Border suck, Scarlet Violet sucks. So I get it. I understand.
Well, I had someone in our shop, and this is the problem. You want to talk about people getting in the hobby. I had someone that was in our shop and they joined the hobby in 151, I think is when they joined. Or no, it wasn't 151. It was I don't know. It was like literally 6 months from when Prismatic came out. And the individual was like, yeah, I'm just going to wait till Prismatic hits MSRP. And I was like, that's not going to happen. And they're like, why wouldn't it happen? And I'm just like, it felt like such a weird disconnect because there are people that have certain sentiments when it comes to the reality of pricing. And they are like, oh, it'll never go, it'll always, go back to MSRP, it could never stay this high, or the inverse, right? Like never say never, man. Like it can't go lower, bro, and it
What
can't
is
go
that?
higher, bro.
You mean the suggested? You mean the manufacturer's suggested price?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Pokemon booster boxes have gone under wholesale before. What's to stop them
Dude,
going over MSRP?
guys, this is like here. This is like me sending this Blastoise to Eli, right? And saying, "Hey man, I
You
suggest
mean
you
it?
sell us." Yeah, I'm like, "Hey man, I suggest you sell us at $200." He goes, "Okay, thanks." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna sell it for 250." I'm like, "Well, I suggested 200." Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your suggestion. I think it's worth 250. And guess what? My customer just bought it, and they thought it was worth 250 too. So I mean, that's all suggested retail is, guys. It's not this contract that Pokemon like makes stores sell or distributors make stores sign, because it's a suggestion. It's not real.
Yeah.
No one talked about MSRP until it became the cheaper price. No one cared when boxes were $100. They didn't say, so Pokemon suggested you sell these at 161. Why are you selling them at 100? No one said that. They only care because it's more expensive than MSRP now. It's a joke.
Yeah, that's the hard thing I grapple with as a store owner the most, more than anything, is because like in my mind, right? And I'll just be completely honest, right? I'm not hiding anything, but these are the thoughts that I have sometimes. Is I look at Journey and I say, man, like it feels like it's so expensive, and I'm obviously buying these boxes for like 88 a box, right? I'm making so much money off of this. What do I think is a fair price point? Because I want to like lower it so that it's just not as expensive as it is, right? And as much as it pains me to say this, the thing that always stops me every single time is two things. One, if I put it too low, it's gonna get scalped, which sucks, but it's something you have to consider, even with a limit. As we saw with the Pokemon Center website, there were 2 million people that were just wanting to get one of that item because the margin for that product is so good that it's still worth scalping, right? And then, second off, the hard thing that's also having to be taken into consideration is, in a perfect world, it would be great if I could charge MSRP like year round. But the reality of the situation is, when you're charging $100 a box or $110 a box, which is significantly lower than what MSRP is, people didn't bat an eye. And if you were charging MSRP, you were considered to be a scammer because you were overcharging for the product value. And then, of course, the minute you aren't charging MSRP, all of a sudden, the same exact arguments being made. So it's like really difficult, because you know that there's going to be a lot of people that once that like kind of market correction occurs, they're going to just go to whatever the best price is regardless, right? And same goes with obviously playing with the sad reality of where we are with scalpers. So trying to find that balance in pricing is the most difficult thing, and it's the most frustrating thing for me, because like it feels like my hands are tied so much as a store
By the
owner.
way, 5G water tower, you guys are clearly part of the problem. I am the problem. Yeah. Yeah, let that sink in. Yeah. Hey, Retro wants to know if there's spots open for the wholesaler. I can vouch for Retro.
What's up, Retro? Thanks for the $5. As far as it goes, right now we are not accepting any spots. So for Japanese wholesalers, how we typically do it is, if you're in the program itself, then usually I'll have you reach out to me, and then we'll go through like a brief vetting process. Like, you know, having people vouch for you regards to the legitimacy of your Japanese business. Because for those of you guys that don't know, and it's important you guys know this, in the wholesale program, I am the one that distributes all of the English product, but in terms of the Japanese product, I don't have access to direct distribution. And so we do have members within the program that are given the opportunity to offer Japanese product for sale using their connections. So this is something that we do, and obviously any way we can create a competitive market with multiple outlets and options for people to purchase from is fantastic. So it's definitely something that we would consider. as far as adding you. If you want to message me individually, that's something I can definitely talk with you about it. But as far as I know at this time, it's really up in the air. I'd have to discuss it more with you further behind the scenes, just because I don't want to say yes or no. It's difficult because with the way in which the market's going right now, I would want to obviously kind of look and see what you're able to obviously help offer the program, what your pricing looks like comparable to everyone else, and all the other details. But all right, let's go into the next question because we got all of the standard questions or super chat. Oh, just kidding. We got another super chat. Anthony Martinez, shout out to Anthony. Thank you so much. Oh, I love this one. Alex asked the 8-ball, was my purchase of 8 boxes of DR Destined Rivals today a good or bad buy at $350? Serious question though. DR pre-orders, will they be $300 plus right off the bat? Thoughts? Thanks for the $10 again, Anthony.
All right, first question. What is it? DR today a good buy at 350? Let's ask it. Let's ask it, baby. We have. Oh, it's unshared. It's not. Okay. My
what
reply
about
is no.
Do we think that it'll be 300 plus on pre-orders? Do we think that?
300. All right. Is 300 a good price for Destined Rivals? Better not tell you now. Even the 8-ball's unshared, man. This market has even got the 8-ball flustered.
But do we think it'll be $300? Ask it. Do we think it's going to be $300 at pre-order? Not do we think it's a good investment?
$300 at pre-order for Destined Rivals 8-ball. It is certain.
Oh, dude, this 8-ball is giving the answers, man. Oh, that's so funny.
So, I mean, that's kind of this is the secret to my success. It's what I've based pretty much every business and investment decision on for the past year or so. So, take that for what you will.
That's so funny. Do you think PC will actually be able to fulfill the ETB orders that went through yesterday? If so, doesn't the insane amount of printing done on that product diminish the exclusivity?
I don't know.
Do you want to start, Alex? You stay out of that nonsense. I mean, dude, it's so we don't know the details of how much was filled. We only know the details of how many people were in a queue, right? So we don't know how much is available, and we don't know of those people how many are going to rip. And so it's like extremely difficult because all of this is so speculative. But to answer your question, I think the answer is no, it doesn't change anything. All right. Moving up to next question. Am I the only one that thinks Pokemon Steam throwback set would be the best set of all time? I think that if they're going to do something like that, it would probably be something that they do kind of like a Pokemon Go or like a Pokemon movie, where it would kind of be like one of those throwback sets where they make the art designs like it, but it's not like a standard typical set. It'd be like a specialty type set.
Yeah, I mean, I have no clue on these kind of questions, man. Maybe. I mean, Pokemon Go is such a disaster that I'm just a little leery on any of that stuff.
Question, is everyone sleeping on the Marnie and Steven rival battle decks for pre-order? I feel like the promos are going to be big.
Oh yeah, dude. Buy all the battle decks. In fact, you know what? Let me buy them for you. I'll sell them to you.
So crazy. Let me go look real quick, actually, because I've heard of them, but I'm actually not extremely informed on them, so I don't want to Okay, Pokemon Rivals Battle Deck, Marnie and Steven. Oh, wow. Those actually look cool. Oh, man, I like those. Yeah, if those are exclusive promo items, I think those will be nice. I think those will actually be solid, too, for those that are in the program that like to break down items. Because you're not only going to have a promo that you'll be able to probably sell off and it'll do well, but you'll probably have some competitive cards that they're going to throw in there that you'll be able to sell on TCG Player. We don't know for certain, obviously, what's included in it, but just off of the promo, it could definitely be something people are sleeping on. Moving into our next question. Rank all the SV sets currently including JT. Thanks. Do you want to speed run it real quick?
I don't know what we're ranking though.
I know. I'll pick the premise. You're ranking not by investability. You're ranking by just set that you like the most so far.
Okay. Gotta take 151.
Is this top to bottom, best to worst?
Yeah, 151 top. Dude, I don't know. I hate these questions. I don't know. Because I go back and forth, like investability. Is it like fun to open? Is it collectabilities? Like the cards inside? It's like there's so many different ways to put it. It's impossible.
I mean, I'm taking investability out of it. I'm just talking sets that I would say from a just pure fun perspective. I would definitely say JT is hard. JT is hard to answer. But on a personal level, I would say I really love Paldea Evolved. I'd be willing to put that honestly at number 1. Sounds like crazy to say.
Pump it, dude. Just
the only reason I say that and don't put JT up there right now is I know you said include JT, but I don't really want to because I haven't opened JT.
JT is good, man. I like it.
And I would put JT personally. I would put JT at number 1. The problem is I haven't opened the set, right? Because like with Prismatic, if I'm just taking pull rates out of it, I feel like you'd put Prismatic at 1. But because the pull rates are so atrocious, it's really difficult for me to put it up there because it takes away so much fun from the set itself based off of what you can get from it, you know?
All right, I got mine. I'm ready. 151, Paldean Fates, Paldea Evolved, Journey Together, Paradox, then probably Prismatic, and then I'll go ahead and say Surging, Temporal, SV Base, Twilight, Obsidian. Ooh. Shrouded's actually gonna be higher up there for me. Shrouded's probably gonna be up there with like Paradox, probably after Paradox or Temporal, somewhere in there. I actually like opening Shrouded. I like the theme of the set. I think it's got a lot of good illustrations. I actually like opening Shrouded. So
if it ends up being a fun set to open, then I would do Journey at number 1. I would do Paldea Evolved at number 2. I would do Prismatic at number 3. I'd put 151 at number 4. I'd put Surging at number 5. I would put Twilight at 6. Then I would go, this is going to be a hot one, Paradox, then Temporal. And then from there, what I would do is I would go SV Base, Shrouded, then Obsidian. I had every set, right? Or did I miss any?
Yeah. I think SV Base is fun though. I mean, I really do.
Right. That's why I put SV Base in front of the other two, because I think SV Base is underrated. I really like the Gardevoir art. I really liked both the legendary creature art designs. I think it's got some really cool arts in it. Obviously,
Brett P's got an awesome question, dude. Take that one, the brand new one.
It's the newest question. How much fun are you guys having this market? More or less than a year ago? Man,
I'm having infinitely more fun. Because I was still in my like I kind of like where I'm at now, because like I'm at the point where like I legitimately like just don't care about all like the trolling and the online beef and stuff. You know, I like, you know, what I'm doing. I like being able to put out content and not really give a crap what people think. I like being able to have like a totally separate community to hang out, have a good time, enjoy the hobby, rip packs, right? And then I also like where I'm at with the business, like having my friend to work with me. Obviously times are good with investments and all that. Like everything I'm doing right now, business wise, content wise, and just like where we're at, dude. I'm in a much better position. It doesn't really have to do with like what the market's doing, but like I'm having much more fun now than I was a year ago.
I would say that it's a double-edged sword for me, you know. Um cuz cuz in my own personal life I'm having more fun, but like from a business perspective, I don't know. I guess I'm having more fun, but it's hard to say cuz like
You're not convincing.
I know. That's the problem because I'm trying to understand how I want to illustrate this cuz like man, I'm so good at answering yes or no questions. I
What's
can't
funny,
not
guys, is like
declare
this
it.
is how exactly how Eli is. Like when I was
I
talking to
can't
him,
not. I can't not like I'm like Jordan Peterson where you ask him like a yes or no question and he goes on to like a 10-minute monologue
well,
about
not even
something.
Pokemon related. When I talked to you about your vacation, we'd be on the phone. You'd be like, "Yeah, I mean, it was fun." I'm like, "You sound like you had a great time, man. What's
It's
up?"
cuz
You're like,
I'm it's
"No,
cuz
I
I'm just
did."
it's just cuz I'm overly hypercritical. Like that's the problem. So I guess where I'm trying to come from is right now the growth of the storefront has been super fun. Getting to grow the team of individuals that I am able to employ at the shop has been awesome. Being able to give them raises and try and continuously provide more opportunity for growth within the company for them, and of course reward them for helping grow the company has been fantastic. Seeing the success of the community that we're building and having sold out at our Pokemon pre-release event, our first one we ever had, was amazing experience. Getting to meet all the awesome people that come into the shop that are regulars has been an awesome experience. Like all of that has been fantastic, and I am super grateful for that. Right? Where I kind of like have my hesitancy is from like the overall market perspective and where things are currently. It's definitely less fun for me in like the wholesale program because that's still a part of the business for me, right? Significantly way less fun because back when we were first doing the wholesale program, the fun of like the grind and the building of allocation was so fun because like sure I was spending way more time and like man hours breaking down product and like really hustling and like growing our allocations. Right now it's become so mundane because there's no opportunity to buy anything. It feels like it's really difficult from a growth perspective for us to build our allocations because there's just nothing available for us to build allocations with. And it just kind of feels like we're currently in purgatory. And that's something that's extremely frustrating for me because I want to see a continuation of growth within that. I obviously would like to see more allocation availability for people within the program because, before leading up to Stellar, you could ask for whatever you wanted and you got 100% allocation, no question whatsoever, right? But then since then, starting with surging, it's no longer the case. We now have to allocate because we don't get 100% of what we want. And
That
so
is
it's
the
really,
only unfun thing is sourcing.
yeah. So the sourcing has been something that has taken away a lot from it. And it's made me really sad because I really appreciate all the people that are in the program that have helped us get to where we are. And obviously, you know, they're still making a ton of money off of it. I mean, hell, just one booster case of Journey will pay for literally 6 months of the program. But the real value of the program historically has been your opportunity to buy tons and tons of product. And right now there's just not as much available. So
Well,
that's where that kind of like, yes, I'm having fun in this area, but I'm not having much fun in this area is kind of where
it's
I
really
am.
weird too. Like depending on who you talk to, everyone enjoys different things. I've really realized that more and more in the hobby is everybody enjoys different things. Like there's people out there that love sourcing. Like they love the act of like, tracking down deals and searching all these websites and Facebook groups and Instagrams and like negotiating and, going back and forth and like they love it. Me, I hate it. Like I hate that. Dude, I wish I could just click a button or call you up, call my distributor. Hey, I need this much of this set, this set, this set, this set. No problem. Have it shipped out tomorrow. here's the money, thank you. Like, I would so rather go back to those days than trying to do all this, like all these back end deals everywhere, all these different people getting a million packages in from all over the freaking world. It's so like it just depends on what you enjoy and like what's going on in the hobby right now. So it's just like I feel like depending on what you like, there's people having a terrible time in the hobby right now. There's people having a great time.
That is so true. I love doing research. Like doing research is super fun for me. My wife hates it. Absolutely despises it. So like when it comes to certain topics where research needs to be done, my wife will be like, "All right, you go do the research and then just tell me what to do and then I'll do it." And I'll be like, "Well, why don't you do the research yourself?" And she's like, "Cuz you've been doing research for so long, like you know the tools to use to find it faster and it's just like why even bother, you know?" So I totally get where you're coming from. There's definitely a yin to a yang when it comes to where people fit best and also what they enjoy the most.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a couple more and then we'll get out of here. Shout out to Great Lake Ruler 517, $2 sub. Thank you so much. JTA, good pickup at 1380 for a case or 380 a box by May? Question mark. I assume he meant Journey Together.
I mean, good pickup for what? To hold long term? Probably not. You know, if you normally buy 10 cases of a set, yeah, I think one case is worth it to pick up and get a, one of the enhanced boxes or cases and keep one.
Yeah, for
If
230 a
Yeah,
box.
yeah, if you only normally buy a case and this is like your whole position, maybe be a better position, a better time in the future. I don't know. It's just like everyone's risk tolerance is different, everyone's financial situation is different. I can't answer that. Like, I think you should buy a small percentage of what you would normally buy of a set of Journey Together right now, and then just go with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think if you want to buy that one case just to put yourself in case of what Alex said occurs, then yeah, I think it's good. All right, let's do it. Two more questions and we're out of here. I heard over 1 million. Yep, we talked about this already. If all will be delivered, it shows how much Pokemon can print if they want. Doesn't this prove some we already talked about this earlier. We'll move on from this actually. Why do you think Evo Skies is sitting on why do you think Evo Skies is sitting on Evo Skies and where can I get more?
What?
What does that even mean?
I don't know. Oh, maybe like why is it sitting? Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, Alex, why is it that when you give your honest takes, people take it negative and are angry? You are cool, calm, and collected.
It's just because of my personality. Like I get it when I talk, I like exclaim or like maybe we raise our voices. Like I think it's just like in my delivery. I think people like think I'm like upset, whereas I don't know. And also like on camera, things come across a different way. So I get it. Like I definitely do. Like I'm more animated with my like responses and stuff. So people, I understand where they get it. But yeah, I'm never. I'm really just talking.
Last question here. Prediction for the top hit of Journey Together. Wailord, Articuno, Salamence, or will it be one of the trainers?
I mean, I think that Lily's Clefairy is number one, correct?
Currently it is on pre-sale.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I think Articuno will probably be the top illustration rare, I think. But I think I think the SIRs, I think this is gonna be one of those sets where the SIRs actually hold. I think it'll be like a Temporal Forces where the SIRs are actually the top hits and it's not like a Paradox or a Paldea where the IRs take over. So yeah, I think it'll be like Lily's Clefairy, like Iono's Belly Bolt, maybe the was it N Zekrom. I think those are going to be up there. I don't think the illustrations are going to overtake them because they are actually pretty hard to hit.
Yeah. My personal favorite is the Enzork.
Yeah, that was it.
The Lily though, it's probably going to be number one. It's got the cuteness factor, and cuteness cards do really well.
Yeah, for sure. I was telling Eli, I made a play on it. My card shop had one. I just bought it. It was $330 and it looked perfect. So I'm like, all right, buying it, rush grading it, express grading it at PSA. Going to try to make a first to market play. Let's see what happens.
All right, guys. That is it for today's stream. Want to thank you all so much for stopping by. As always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the channel. Obviously, Alex's info is also down in the description. Check him out for some live stream breaks and/or, of course, his content that he posts every week. And then, as always, if you want to stay up to date, join the Discord, or if you're interested in joining the wholesale program, give me a ping and I'll message you when a spot opens up. Anything else you want to say, Alex, before we head out?
Have fun, guys. If it's not fun, find something that's fun.
Have fun, baby. All right. Have a good one. I'll see you next Tuesday. Peace.